What's up, YouTube? So the last video I did, I talked about toxic relationships. And I mentioned how sometimes we just hold on to something that's no longer good for us, no longer working for us. Sometimes we make excuses for the other person. We try to make things look as if they're not as bad as they seem. Sometimes we try to convince ourselves that it's not that bad. And that's what I did in my toxic relationship that I was in for 6 years. Now, the guy wasn't abusive. He wasn't cheating on me or anything like that. But I don't know if I can say he was, no, I wouldn't say he was verbally abusive, but when he would get frustrated about certain things, things going on in his life or things in regards to us or maybe my personality, something like that, he would yell at me. So I just found myself walking on eggshells a lot of the time. I also just found myself not feeling comfortable expressing certain things verbally or a lot of things verbally. But I think I always had that problem. I was never really comfortable articulating myself, or I wasn't really sure how to articulate myself when it came to certain things. So in the previous video that I did, I mentioned how sometimes we can overlook things that we might be noticing, red flags, etc. And again, we make excuses for the person. So in the first year of dating this guy, I found myself questioning if this was the person that I was supposed to be with. I was questioning that because of how he would yell at me. Now, I'm not talking about how couples may have disagreements. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about someone getting frustrated with you or taking out their frustrations on you quite often. For instance, I was learning how to drive, so I wasn't the most confident. It was something new to me, so it took time for me to really get comfortable with driving. So he would get frustrated because he felt like that I should just be driving all over the place and just going different places, or I guess wanting to go more places, but I just was not comfortable yet. I think just overall, I think he just expected me to be a certain way, and I just was not that. I was not outgoing. I was not super confident. And I think maybe the frustration stemmed from that. I guess thinking that I should be a certain way, but I really was not a certain way, if that makes sense. And so since I was learning how to drive, sometimes I would make mistakes. And whenever I would make a mistake, and I don't remember it being something that would cause like a deadly situation, but still a mistake. And he would just blow up at me. Or if we were going somewhere, and because I don't think we had Google Maps back then, we would print out directions to follow. So I'm so glad we have Google Maps because that is really helpful. But back then, yeah, we would print out directions to follow. We would take turns navigating. And so if I made a mistake and told him the wrong direction to turn, all hell would break loose. Or I think there might have been a time where, what happened? I think there was a time he thought I told him the wrong way to go, and it wasn't me, it was Google Maps. Sometimes Google Maps will send you off. Yeah, sometimes with driving, I would not feel comfortable driving with him. And now I never said this out loud, but there were times when I thought, if you don't like how I drive, if you don't think I'm aggressive enough or whatever, then you should drive. But he never wanted to drive all the time. He wanted me to drive. So yeah, that particular thing was very frustrating to deal with. So he was also very negative, and he would complain about his own circumstances and about things going on in the world. And there were times when dealing with that was draining. But I would try to listen, and of course I wasn't a big talker. But then I always felt like whenever I did try to offer some type of advice or a solution or lend a listening ear, it just never seemed to be enough. Because something had to be said about that. Now, I said that when he would get frustrated, he would take things out on me. He would yell at me. That occurred the first year of the relationship, and it might have occurred in the second year. But the remaining years, his yelling had stopped. But the damage was already done, because like I said earlier, I didn't feel comfortable expressing certain things because I didn't know how he was going to react. Eventually, it got to the point where I started wondering what my life would be like without him in it. So as the years went by, I realized that I was not happy. This relationship was not helping me to become better. It wasn't improving anything in my life. I may have been going back and forth because this was years ago, but I may have been going back and forth because like I said earlier, I would try to reason with myself. Well, he's not cheating on me. He's not hitting me. Maybe I just need to be more assertive with him. And then there were times when I thought, maybe this isn't for me anymore. Maybe I don't need to be in this anymore. I was starting to feel less attracted to him. But I can remember throughout the years of the relationship, I would journal about how we met and the first few dates that we went on, etc. And I would always look back and read those, I guess, to kind of remind myself of how much I enjoy being with this person, or how much I love this person. I guess reminding myself of the good times. But after so long, I guess that wasn't working anymore. So I believe that God gave me a way out of this relationship. One day I prayed and asked God to help me. I think I said, God, just help me to find a way out of this relationship, because I think I did that because I wasn't sure how to get out of it or how to really break it off. Which sounds kind of silly. I just wasn't sure how to end it. I wanted to end it, but just wasn't sure how.